If you love the MCU, you love this guy. You know him as Ned in the Spider-Man universe. He's actually in 3 of the top 10 highest grossing films in history. In history. And he's playing a vampire for this Halloween season. Reginald the Vampire, new series on Sci-Fi, which starts tomorrow. So you might be watching this on October the 5th. So it starts today if you're watching it then. His name is Jacob Batalon. We're going to talk to him about vampires, some facts about them that I didn't even know, kind of the origins of not only vampires, but the show and Jacob's career, what led him to Spider-Man, what led him to being on set with all 3 Spider-Men, in No Way Home, of course, the big blockbuster that we all watched and were in awe of. We're going to talk about all that right now with my guy, Jacob Batalon, here on The Collection. And he joins us right now to talk about Reginald the Vampire. Jacob, how are we doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no, thanks for joining, Jacob, man. Let's talk. I want to get right into it because Reginald the Vampire, I don't even need to know more about the movie, and I'm already in. I'm so in on vampires. My wife and I have gone on a Vampire Diaries run, of which I've never seen before. I'm all in on it.
Great.
So it's a great, that's a good series. It's a fun series. But this one looks to me like right up my alley. So talk to me about Reginald the Vampire.
Oh, great. Well, Reginald the Vampire is sort of a more human, grounded take on the whole vampire trope. You know, I think the main point of the show is that we're watching Reginald, who, by all accounts, is a very normal, regular person who doesn't seem like the leading man type, sort of like grow into that role. And it's a very human exploration, and it's really just based on the backdrop of becoming a vampire. So really, that's like the sort of like metaphoric kind of part of the show. But the more practical part is that it's like a comedy. It's like a drama. It's like a rom-com. It's like all these things that's like really compacted into a really great show. And it's just him sort of becoming like a blemish on the quote unquote perfect societal vampire, perfect vampire society. And the leader of that society wants him dead. So he needs to really, balance that.
If anybody listening right now just heard Jacob's explanation of the show and is not 100,000% in on it, I don't know what's wrong with you. That's like the greatest pitch I've ever heard for this show, and I'm so excited to watch it. Again, it premieres tomorrow when people are hearing this on the Sci-Fi Network. Yeah. Reginald the Vampire. You kind of went through what the show is about. This is kind of your first. I don't know. I want to say it's your first leading role, but it's your first a big series where you're the main star. Why did this feel like the right? Yes. Why did this feel like the right show? Why did this feel like the right project?
I think it was really the right show because of the sort of messaging that we wanted to send out. I feel like we're all very used to the Hollywood sort of style of leading man and the stereotypical, societal version of what beauty is. And so with our show, we put all those tropes on its head, and we absolutely make light of the idea that you don't have to be a certain way or follow societal rule in order to, be the hero of your own story. So I think that's really the main part of why I really enjoyed and was attracted to the show.
Reginald the Vampire, again, it's going to debut on Sci-Fi tomorrow when people are hearing this. That's October the 5th, Wednesday. Make sure you set your DVR, see it, support it, watch it. I feel like this is going to be a great series, especially for the Halloween time. This is awesome, man.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Hey, I had to ask you because you and I aren't super far apart in age. We're both children of the 90s.
Sure.
And to me, when I was growing up, the Tonight Show was the mecca. When Jay Leno had it, I would watch it all the time. And then Jimmy Fallon, I feel is like one of the great hosts ever. I got to have Jimmy Fallon on this show not too long ago.
Amazing.
Talk to me about your Tonight Show appearance. I saw you were on the Tonight Show. This must have been an incredible experience.
Yeah, it was actually a really awesome experience. Jimmy was so nice and had so many kind words to say to me, and it was really just an amazing experience. My dressing room was right across from Questlove's dressing room. And the roots, I feel like, literally a legendary hip hop band. So to just be in the same space as all those people was just, I mean, literally a moment in time I'll never forget, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Questlove, one of the greats ever. Black Thought, of course, one of the greatest rappers of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That must have been nuts. Are you a big hip hop fan?
Yeah, I'm pretty into hip hop. I would say a lot of hip hop and R&B and things of that nature. I feel like that's what I grew up listening to, and just to really, again, just be in the same space as any of those people is just like a dream come true. So, I mean, it was an amazing experience. My girlfriend loved, watching the show, and she loved being backstage, and she loved being in my room, and all those things. It was really awesome. And we got to bring our dog as well, so it was pretty great.
Oh man, it was a family affair. I heard you on Tonight Show talking about your girlfriend.
Absolutely.
She had to keep the big secret quiet for a year and a half about Tom Holland and of course Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. I don't know how she did it. I really don't know, because everyone was trying to get that secret out of you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. No one really knew my girlfriend knew the secret, so that was one thing. And then another thing, honestly, she's not the biggest fan of superhero stuff. She obviously loves us and Spider-Man and all those things, but she wasn't really, she didn't really understand why Tobey and Andrew were there at first. She was actually more confused about it. Like, wait, weren't these two other Spider-Men in different movies? Why are they here? And so I had to, we had to explain to her why they're there. and she definitely kept it. She didn't really, care enough to, tell anyone. So, yeah.
It all worked out. It all worked out for you. I was almost surprised. Was it not like a completely closed set? I'm surprised that they let anyone else on except for the actors that were supposed to be there.
Yeah, no, it was very. They were very nice about it, obviously, and they were really good about COVID protocols and all those things. So she was just really happy to just be there.
So, man, when I was reading up on you and watching some of your interviews and learning more, it's crazy to me your ascent in this industry. I mean, 2016, you kind of get things started. You come over from Hawaii, which I got to go. I got married earlier this year, and I got to go to Kauai, is where we had our honeymoon. Yeah. It's a beautiful place. Oh my gosh!
Oh, that's amazing. Hawaii's beautiful. Oh, that's so great. Congratulations. Man.
Oh, I appreciate that, Jacob. So anyway, but just to see you come from Hawaii to New York, and then your second movie ever is Spider-Man: Homecoming, the first Spider-Man in the MCU. How quickly did you go from audition to you got the role to your filming?
Yeah. So I was actually auditioning, I would say the beginning of 2016. I was in school for about a year at this point, and, I was very lucky at the time to have, a manager to look out for me and, kind of help me find auditions. And, Spider-Man kind of just came along, and it was firstly a self-tape, which, was titled Unnamed Marvel Movie. And, the sides for it were pretty basic. It was about a teenager in high school. And, my cousin at the time, he was like, there's only one teenager in the MCU, which is Spider-Man. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And so reading it, I was like, it just sounds like they were high school friends. So I did the self-tape, and then the self-tape sort of turned into a screen test, which was crazy because obviously at this point in my life, I'd never been flown out anywhere for a job. So, being flown out to California for a screen test with Tom and John Watts and the team, that was really an earth-shattering moment for me. And then that sort of happened, and I waited about 2.5 months to hear anything back. And then I got a phone call late at night one night, and my manager was just like, hey, man, they want you to be in the movie. They don't know what part yet, but you're in it. And so at that point, I didn't care if I was going to be Ned or anyone else. I just was glad that I was going to have a job after school. And then it wasn't until they flew me out for a wig fitting that I kind of basically knew that I was going to be Ned at that point. So, yeah, that was May 2016. And then we started filming June 2016, I believe. And that's sort of how it all kind of came together. And that's why I'm on the show now.
That's incredible, man. It's so incredible. Just a great story. I guess for that moment where we thought Spider-Man might not stay in the MCU, were we worried? Were we nervous? Were we in a group chat with Zendaya and Tom saying, "What the hell's going on? What can we do?"
I think we were very much like, whatever happens, happens. I think that we were going to go ahead with the movie anyway, but it would have been a really different sort of take if we hadn't stayed in the MCU, obviously. So we were glad that it all worked out. But, as actors, we don't really have any say or pull or anything like that. It's just whatever the bosses decide, the bosses decide. So in that sense, we were pretty much just like, we're staying together no matter what. So it is what it is.
Hey, so one more thing on Reginald the Vampire. Again, this series debuts on Sci-Fi tomorrow, October the 5th. Make sure y'all set your DVRs, watch it. It's appointment viewing. I want to ask, so when I take on a project, like I had to write a couple books, whenever I go in, I do that, I dive in. Like I go heavy in. I try to figure out everything there is to know about the subject matter. Did you do that with vampires? And if so, like, did you learn anything that the commoner might not know about vampires?
I think that people don't really know this about vampires, but they were sort of, it's old folklore, obviously, and it predates a lot of media and pop culture. But vampires were sort of made to represent marginalized communities before. And I think that's like a form that people don't really know about. In today's pop culture, we look to them as like these quote unquote, beautiful sort of societally Hollywood standard types, and they're vapid and vain and all these things. But they were actually a metaphor for people who weren't really accepted. And so I think now with our show, I think we have a new version of that. Our vampires obviously hold a mirror up to society and sort of judgmental views. And I'm sort of like the new age version of what vampires should be and what social acceptance should mean and all these things. So I think that's a pretty big difference. And, I think that what I've come to realize is that everyone who plays vampires doesn't like the blood aspect of it, and it's respectable.
I totally hear you, man. Well, hey, Jacob, I really appreciate you joining us. It's Reginald the Vampire. I'm going to watch it. Everybody go watch it. Jacob Batalon, thank you so much for joining us this morning, man, and much success to you, my brother.
Thank you.